Welcome to the FomoShow about TV technology and home theater news. This week's headline is big, especially for Sony TV fans. Hear that, Bravia 9, Bravia 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 owners? Yes, I know, there's no Bravia 654, but, well, sooner or later, right? Anyway, this affects everyone because we're talking about Sony's bid to acquire Paramount Pictures. Bam! What's Paramount Pictures, you ask? You know, the producers of Star Trek, Mission Impossible, Top Gun, their streaming platform. Wait, I know you're asking, why would Sony want to lose money in streaming like Disney, Max, Apple TV, right? They're not making money on streaming. Why would Sony want to get involved? Au contraire, mon frère. The reality is Sony is looking at the long game. It's not streaming. It's something much bigger. Today's video is brought to you by WhoKeys. Trying to build a PC on a budget but don't know where to buy your Windows software cheaply? WhoKeys to the rescue. Use my coupon code SF20 and immediate discount with a free upgrade to Windows 11. At the bottom of this order where it says code card, to the right is the product key you need to activate Windows. So copy this long number, then go to the Windows menu and click on Settings. In the Settings menu at the bottom, select Update and Security. Select Activation, then select Change Product Key, paste what you copied from WhoKeys, click Next, click Activate, and you're done. You can buy Windows 11 Pro or Office 2019 Pro with my discount code SF20. Yes, I've been using WhoKeys for the last several years on my own PC builds, and it just works. Sony is offering big money to acquire Paramount, which includes all of its movie assets, the studio in Melrose, as well as a streaming platform. A lot of people are saying, well, maybe Sony wants Paramount so they could become a streaming service themselves. Nope, that's not the reason. But before I get too far ahead of myself, currently Paramount is entertaining a bid from Skydance, which is first in line, right? They have about 30 days, and if it falls through, Sony is waiting in the wings. Now, a lot of people at Paramount do not like the Skydance deal. I think 4 board of director members have resigned, and one of them reportedly expressed concerns about this deal, and it is reported that the current CEO of Paramount, Bob Bakish, is resigning over this deal. He doesn't like it. And I'll speculate he's probably a fan of the Sony offer instead. Pure speculation. What do I know? But let's talk about why Paramount is in this position. Why are they selling? They've been losing a lot of money because streaming and also linear TV has been in decline. So after a while, all these things add up, or rather nothing's adding up, right? They're making no money, so they're up for sale. Now, my hope is that Sony gets to bat and acquire Paramount. Sony's vision, I believe, is much bigger. Much bigger than what Skydance has in mind. Let me lay it out for you. Last year, we have the launch of the latest and greatest reference monitor. The new mastering monitor that's capable of 4,000 nits, the 3110. Then we have the release of the Bravia 9, the TV that is capable, or most capable, of displaying bright HDR graded on that 4,000 nit monitor will look best on the Bravia 9. Third, we have the announcement that Amazon Prime has a special calibrated mode that is unique to each Bravia TV. It perfectly matches the capability of that specific TV because Sony and Amazon have been working together to make this happen. Thus, the latest Sony TVs for 2024, the Bravia 9, 8, 7, and even last year's A95L Flagship are all capable of this Amazon Prime calibrated mode. And now, if the Hollywood gods are willing, Sony will be able to acquire Paramount. So with all this taken into account, what is Sony's long game? First, Sony owns a huge collection of movies, Columbia, MGM, its own movies, as well as now, if it acquires Paramount, Paramount's collection. With all these movies in play, Sony can then remaster them all in bright HDR with the new reference 4,000 nit monitor, the 3110. Then these remastered movies, right? At 4,000 nits, we're talking the specular highlights at 4,000 nits or close to that. It'll be beautiful for HDR impact. Guess what Sony can do next? It could license these remastered HDR impactful movies to everyone else. Specifically, what if they take this approach? Like what they did with Amazon Prime. They approach, let's say, Netflix. Netflix, we know you want content because as a streaming service, content is king. We'll give you our entire collection of movies, licensed with the latest HDR remaster on one condition. You do what Amazon Prime did for the videos they're producing and streaming to our TVs. Give us special calibrated modes for our TVs. So, buyers of the Sony Bravia 8, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the future, they will all benefit from Netflix streaming of the Sony version for Sony TVs that's capable of 4,000 nits because these TVs will show at best. Everyone else gets a regular version, right? But Sony TVs, boom, they get the special high luminance version because I know the reality is calibration, not a big deal, right? Because many TVs, especially the high-end ones, come home, it's pretty good. It looks very close to accurate in filmmaker mode. What Sony really needs to do, and what they could do if they have this large collection of movies between themselves and Paramount, is remaster it at brighter HDR impactful levels. So the movie looks mostly the same, but in the scenes where you have these bright specular highlights, graded to where it should be for maximum impact, those with a Sony TV will benefit most from it. And if you don't have a Sony TV, well, you still get the same dim images you're getting right now from Netflix, right? They're not grading those movies above 600 nits. You still get that. But on a Sony TV, you're going to get the remastered version. This is genius by Sony. Why? The TV sales will start going through the roof because Netflix, the #1 streaming service, but let's say they do a deal with Disney as well as Max and Apple TV, all these other streaming services, they're like, hey, we need to preserve our membership. Anything will work, and we're going to have access to this special HDR impactful regraded movies, both future movies and past. We want it, and Sony doesn't have to worry about the cost of running a streaming service. That's a nightmare. They will lose money if they try to be a streamer. Instead, they'll just license it to everyone else on the condition that there's a special version that goes to Sony TVs, where the Sony TVs, maximum impact HDR, boom, unique to the Sonys. Everyone else gets the normal version that's unremastered. Unremastered, is that a word? That's not mastered to the highest levels because they want a reason for you to buy the Sony TVs, right? That to me is big vision, long game, and it makes sense to me because the future really is streaming. Now, those of you who are disc fans, right? Hard media, you're wondering, well, what about us? I don't know. What will Sony do with you? I mean, I hope you get the 4,000 nit version, but then again, wouldn't that undermine the whole streaming thing? So most likely you'll get the normal plebeian version, right? Up to 1,000 nits, you guys will be happy. But those on the streaming service for the Sony TV, they get the full impact of 4,000 nit graded HDR. But of course, this assumes big assumption that the Skydance deal falls through. So the question for you is, are you a fan of this deal? Are you hoping Skydance deal fails and Sony walks in with this big vision? Or are you against it? And I know you're saying to me, wait, what about the rest of us who don't want a Sony TV? Let me tell you this. It's hard to sell TVs, and unless Sony does something like this, they may not survive 10 years from now as a premium TV makers because they're not selling enough TVs. And if this is what it takes to sell more TVs and give us amazing TVs like the Bravia 9, the Bravia 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever the future holds, so be it. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a bunch of Walmart or Roku TVs full of ads that you cannot stop. Let me know what you think now. Until next time, stop the FOMO.